Welcome back everyone to this Tribal Food Sovereignty Call series, where we come together to learn from tribal food practitioners and friends and have dialogue around moving forward on tribal food sovereignty in Arizona. My name's Samantha. I'm the Rural Programs Manager at Local First Arizona. Joined on the call with co-organizers Kenneth Steele from Pinnacle Prevention and Raphael Tapia and Donna Ben from Partnerships with Native Americans. And just want to invite you to introduce yourself in the chat as well. And thanks everyone for being here today. Quickly, if you want to make sure you don't miss out on future calls, you can subscribe to be notified of the next calls and the speakers at Arizona Food Systems Network's website, which is azfsn.com. Is it .org? Kenneth, I think it's .org. Yeah, okay, azfsn.org. We'll put it in the chat. Today we have a pretty full lineup of speakers from NAU, St. Mary's Food Bank, now Woody Danjoni Community, and the Arizona Food Bank Network. But before we launch into any presentations, we wanted to start off this session with a little bit more of an open dialogue for everyone on the call about the last session, our first session with Denisa and Tyrone. So if anybody has thoughts that they want to share about kind of what were your takeaways or what were your impressions from that first call, yeah, feel free to unmute yourself and share.
This is Sierra. I found the last session very, very valuable and very interesting. I thought both of the presentations, I learned a whole lot about initiatives that were occurring, and it was really very interesting. So just very valuable overall.
Thanks, Sierra.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite part was probably Tyrone's mission for 100 hoop houses and having 30 already. They looked really big. I haven't seen them in person. But yeah, I definitely would love to get out there and help build some. Who's with me? All right, let's do it. Work crew. Which is something we kind of have talked about as a group, you know, from these calls, when things like that come up and there's opportunities to leverage a network, how do we get people engaged in that kind of project? And maybe we can talk about that later.
So could I add something?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Liz. And I liked the kind of compare and contrast of it in a certain way. I like you, really like Tyrone's presentation because it was like on the ground, getting something done, community-based, and you know, there it is, tangible in front of your eyes, and directly, you could see how it was directly engaged with the people on the ground in the community. But I also have really come to appreciate Denise's approach, which has that component, but also is trying to do something at a scale that's harder, I think, sometimes than the community level of action, which is to get whole groups of people to move in a certain way. And I've long admired her work with the tax on the Navajo reservation. And I'm beginning to slowly understand how significant her international work is as well, that ties together Indigenous peoples all over the world. Because tying together those communities gives them validity and strength, and also helps us see what other countries are doing, that it doesn't have to be the way it is here in this country, that there are other places in the world where Indigenous communities are more respected and less respected, but it provides, I think, some power of example outside our own system. And I really appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks, Liz. Yeah, Denisa is such like a powerhouse of information and momentum. I think we're so lucky to have her, and being connected to the broader scale learning, and also just that like sense of community that gets built. I think when you're in your small community working really hard, you know, you sometimes you get disconnected from that and you can get exhausted really easily. But to me, it's really refreshing to make those bigger connections and see we're working on similar things and we can come together on that.
But Sam, I just want to point out, you know, that we do have this opportunity here, and that's going back to what you just shared about building community. We're all in this together, and that's really the focus of these sessions. We may approach it from different perspectives, but there's a wealth of knowledge and energy and expertise and abilities that are present on the screen. So the idea is to, how do we harness that as we find out about the work that's going on, whether it's at the local level or the global level, and how are we connected to that? So I really like that idea of building community, because that's what this is about. And you know, we have a shared focus around improving quality of life. So thank you, everybody. I just wanted to share a few comments on what the last session meant to me, and moving forward, including today, what it means to me.
Thanks, Raphael. All right, any other comments before we move on to today's session? All right, well, I'll send out the sign up sheet to go help build hoop houses with Tyrone later. And now I'll actually go ahead and hand it over to you, Raphael, to introduce our first speakers.
Well, I'm honored to be the one to introduce. I think, has Ryan joined us yet? No? Okay, well, Ryan has left this presentation in good, capable hands. Honored to continue the conversation. This is one topic that we addressed when we were looking at the response to COVID, and trying to get organization about how different resources were meeting success or having some serious challenges as they were reaching out to tribal communities. And again, I want to acknowledge Liz Taylor for sparking that conversation based on a call she got from one of her contacts out in the Hopi tribe. And so I want to make sure we have an understanding of how some of these conversations came together and who's been instrumental in making them happen. But Sierra and Ryan, during the time that this was going on, had been working on how can we provide tools that end up in the hands of those affected by what's going on. And so they had presented a tool in this conversation that we were having last year during the heat of COVID that seemed very practical, user-friendly, and had implications for the kind of work that we're doing. So she's going to share that work, do an update, and this guy knows how to make an entrance. And so Ryan's with us, Sean Ryan's with us also. From any of you, they'll introduce themselves and you know, talk about the food tool, the resource tool that I mentioned, and we'll have some discussion around it. What do you think? What do you think? You know, give some feedback. What other considerations could we look at? So that's kind of conversation we'd like to have around this presentation. So take it away, Sierra and Ryan, Sean Ryan.
All right, thanks, Raphael, and really appreciate being here with everyone and all the work that's been coming together. If it's okay, I'm not sure who's coordinating the screen sharing. Is it possible to go ahead and share my screen? All right. So I'm going to pull up just a couple of really quick slides to kick it off, and then I'm going to be turning it over to Sierra because she's really amazing and has spearheaded a lot of the effort that has taken place here. But I just wanted to give a little bit of context as to what kind of connected Sierra and I, some of the work that St. Mary's has done, and where this has developed over the last couple of years. So again, I'm Sean Ryan. I'm at Northern Arizona University. I work a lot in education and community outreach programs. And in the last 2 years, I've been working on a pilot program now called Fusion for Community Resilience. So this project has been a data-driven participatory process. It's been something looking at utilizing citizen science and bringing stakeholders together in 3 main types of activities. Those are learning activities to really collaborate and look at information and learning together. It's research activities, actually utilizing data, visualizing that data, and taking a look at what's happening. And then identifying actions, identifying real things in communities that can occur and take place that would be beneficial and help provide resources as needed. So it leverages that power of citizen researchers. It works to build community resilience and the capacity for organizations and individuals to do so. That's been a 2-year project. A lot has developed over time, and Sierra and I connected early on in that project. And she's just been amazing, has really just taken a full dive into looking at how to map out data, how to look at data-driven decision-making, and has brought that to life in the work that she's doing in Northern Arizona. So some of our objectives in this, as far as a broad piece, is really to look at using data visualization to promote food sovereignty and address food insecurity and food needs in the food system. And we've really had the food banks and Sierra step forward as an example organization where they built tools and built processes and are now putting resources behind those actions and activities. So for right now, in a little bit of time that we have, Sierra is going to give a demo of the tool that's been developed to look at some of those resources. And we should have a few minutes for some questions and anything that we can answer or discuss after that demo. And I'll be sure to provide our contact information at the end if anyone would like to continue the conversation or go a little bit further into how that works. So with that said, I'd like to turn it over to Sierra Turovsky with St. Mary's Food Bank. And I'll stop the share and if we can enable her to take over, she'll give us a live demo.
Sean, I think you have to, since you're the host currently, you have to enable her. Do you know how to
do that? I got like really official duties as the host now. Okay, bear with me just a second. That means I'll track down Sierra in the list here.
I can do a brief introduction too. So I'm Sierra Turovsky with St. Mary's Food Bank. I'm the Northern Arizona Programs Manager. For those who don't know a lot about St. Mary's and what we do, we are a large food bank, if you will, operating out of Phoenix. However, my office is in the Flagstaff area. We also have staff in Lake Havasu. And so we really are servicing most of northern, all of western, and central Arizona. And so what we do at St. Mary's is we really do very little direct distribution to clients. Most of what we do is around the procurement, allocation, and transportation of food. So we go to Nogales and buy, semi-truckloads of tomatoes, bring them back to our Phoenix warehouse, put them on a fleet of our semi-trucks, and distribute them to 800 partners throughout our service area. area. So these are places like churches, schools, other food banks, as well as tribal organizations. And so what I will be showing you is distributions in our map that are led by our agency partners. Okay. Screen sharing is paused. Okay, can everyone see the map?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. So what we're looking at here is something that we developed with the purpose of making our distributions very transparent and easily accessible for clients and also other providers. We, during the pandemic, added so many food distributions, in particular in tribal communities, that we very much needed the public to have a place they could go where they could access this information easily, but also so that we could have the opportunity to collaborate with the other people doing food distributions in these areas, because there were a lot of wonderful groups and a lot of tribal governments who really stepped up to the challenge, and they were doing distributions, and we wanted to make sure people knew where we were going to be, with the goal being that our distributions could be staggered, so that we weren't doing a distribution one day and later that week a church group was coming and doing a distribution. Ideally, we could have those distributions staggered throughout the month to help better provide for the nutritional needs of the families in these areas. The best thing about this map is that we really developed it with the clients in mind. It is extremely mobile friendly, knowing that a lot of people don't necessarily have a computer in their home, but maybe they have a smartphone that they can use to look this information up. And so I encourage you to, in fact, go on your smartphone and look it up. The domain is azfoodhelp.org, and you can go in and use it on your smartphone, and it's very, very user friendly. That was very important to us. We also were aware of the bandwidth limitations in a lot of our rural communities, so we tried to make it something that was not too taxing as far as drawing from the internet and various, networks. So in this tool, what we did is we developed quite a few kind of simple options for our clients to be able to search. So if a client wants to search, all of our distributions are open to anyone who wants to come. But if someone is more comfortable going to a distribution specifically in their tribal area, they have a list of the tribal communities in Arizona, and they can select the tribe that they are affiliated with and just see the distributions that are occurring within their community. And so what you'll notice as well is we also have distributions located in Utah. We would love to expand it out to New Mexico, because we know that while our service area is limited by state lines, the Navajo Nation is a sovereign nation that does not have those limitations. So we want to take that into account and make sure that if a resident of the Navajo Nation is looking at this map, they can see their entire the entire service area, not just Arizona. And so we have been working with food banks in other states to incorporate that information as well. One of the other things that we did was allow the ability to search by time period, because we know some people need food tomorrow. They need food today. They can't wait until the food is going to be in their community. So I could search for distributions that are occurring today, and that would allow me to see exactly what is available in my community. The other thing that you can do is also see all of the distributions that we have done. So you can get an idea of, in particular, we're looking at the Navajo Nation, all of the distributions that have occurred, which allows the public to be aware of what is happening in their community. So if their chapter house has done distributions in the past, but doesn't have any coming, oh, sorry, we have 2 people in the waiting room. I'll just go ahead and admit them. So what is it? Okay, sorry about that. And so what we also have is the ability for them to search, and they can see what distributions have occurred, and maybe they want to get with their chapter house officials to start the distributions again if they don't have any in the upcoming time frame. So if we look at all upcoming, the other option that we have is for clients to be able to search by date, because we also know that some people don't necessarily have accessible transportation, or they have their work schedules, but they know that they're going to have availability on a specific day where they could get a ride somewhere, or they can get to the food distributions that are occurring. So this allows the client to search by date. And I don't know why this isn't pulling. Oh, there we go. So if I wanted to search like June 22nd, it shows me all the distributions that are occurring on that day. So if I'm a client and I only have access to a vehicle on that day, I can get to the distribution. And what you'll notice is if we kind of select this, the agency, if you will, you can see it's the Navajo Lutheran Mission in Rock Point. We have the time frame for the distribution, the phone number, and also opportunities for providing additional services information. So we would use this for things like firewood, or perhaps other distributions, like if the Salvation Army is doing a hygiene distribution there, we could incorporate that information. These distributions are also listed on the right-hand side. So you'll see in our distribution platform, we have the 6 distributions on the Navajo Nation that are occurring on June 22nd, and the client can look and see what the time frames are. The other thing that we have on the right-hand side are guidelines, which are pretty basic guidelines for participating in the distribution, and then a legend of distribution statuses. We know that a lot of our clients will need to be able to know if the distribution is still happening or if it has changed. And so we update this on a daily basis so that a client can go and say, I was supposed to go to the distribution at the Klagetoh chapter. However, that has been canceled. And so they can see this immediately. And then when that distribution has been rescheduled, we can update the map with that information. So again, just trying to over provide information to the clients, knowing that they do have limited access, and many of them will be traveling very, very far distances to get to these distributions. I don't want them to travel those distances in vain. Gas is expensive. And so we want to make sure they have up-to-date information on when distributions are occurring. The other option that we have is if we click on one of these distributions, we can zoom right in to where it's occurring, and you can see a Google Earth image of where the distribution location is. We can easily kind of go back out and see this. The other thing that I can do is I can also search by my address, or perhaps I am located, let me see. I'm not able to enter in here. I was a few minutes ago. It could be due to the screen sharing. I'm not sure. But if you want to search by community, you can, and it will zoom you right into the community and allow you to see what is happening in that area. So we really, again, did this very much with the clients in mind. We wanted to keep it very simple. It's only food distributions because for the time frame, that's what we do and we maintain the map. But we are, interested in hearing about other things people would be interested in including. We've been able to promote the map via radio ads. We've done quite a few radio ads, knowing that a lot of elders get their information that way, as well as flyers, which we have some of these. If anyone wants any, we can provide these that have the address, and those flyers have been distributed at all of our food distributions, and we have also utilized social media. And so in conclusion, we eventually plan to extend this map to our entire service area so that everyone can be aware of the distributions that are occurring in their community. We started with tribal communities just because we know during the pandemic, which is what this map developed out of, we saw a very high increase in needs and very limited food access in general, which was exacerbated by people kind of cleaning out the shelves of grocery stores. And so we started with the tribal communities. We plan to expand it. And as Sean said, we always welcome any critical feedback, as well as ways that we can improve upon the map to make it better. So with that being said, I will try to figure out how to stop being the host, and we can answer any questions. And like I said, I'm very open and excited to hear any feedback.
Thank you both. Really, really exciting to see how that's come along. So I will open it up just like you did, see if anyone has any questions, comments.
This is Cheyenne McMasters, and that's a terrific resource, Sierra. I work in Cochise County, and we're starting a collaboration with our food banks, and I'm certainly going to bring this information to them as something that we can try to achieve ourselves. So thank you.
And Cheyenne, if you'll notice, if you go to the map, we have a few other logos of groups who provide information to us. So if you want your information and for your distributions included on the map, we're more than happy to do that. This does not just have to be limited to the St. Mary's Food Bank distributions. We just want it to be a tool for people who are trying to find food in their community.
Fantastic. Thank you. I'll be in touch.
Great.
Yeah, and along those lines, from the NAU side of things, we're going to continue to work with organizations to look at how to utilize data and move toward that too. So if there's anything we can help with to facilitate that kind of a discussion, Cheyenne, feel free to keep me linked. And I did both put emails for both Sierra and I in the chat box that you can always reach out anytime to us there.
Yeah, thank you. I've copied them. So.
I just wanted to introduce myself. I work for the Arizona Coalition for Military Families. We've been working with Lauren from St. Mary's and doing pop-up food events for military connected family members. And we're planning ours in different tribal regions around the state. So I copied your guys' information. Thanks for putting that in the chat. And I'll probably reach out to you guys just to connect with you, and maybe we could do future stuff together.
Absolutely. And Amy, if you're working with Lauren, if you're doing distributions with St. Mary's Food, it will likely already be populating on these, unless you have some kind of specific parameters around it that you've explained to Lauren. Otherwise, it should be pretty automatic.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you.
Great feedback. Thank you. Seen some of it in the chat in terms of great work. Love all the modes of communication you used. Let's see. Are you working with tribal governments or also nonprofits? Thank you. I think that was a yes.
Yes. So St. Mary's Food Bank as an organization, we partner with other nonprofits, churches, schools, other tribal governments, tribal organizations. If they want to do a food distribution with St. Mary's, all they have to do is call me and we can provide them with the food. We deliver it to their doorstep at no cost. And so we're always accepting new partners. We're looking for new partners to better serve the community. And as far as inclusion of other distributions on the map, all they have to do is reach out to me and let me know, and we're happy to put their information on there. It can be tribal governments. It could be really anyone who is doing a distribution. We want to make sure that the public just has as much access to information as possible.
And if it's different than food distributions or something else there, then feel free as well to reach out on the NAU side, working with nonprofits for food, energy, and water systems. And so just trying to help support the discussions and being able to use data that way as well.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Sean and Sierra. Sounds like a really great resource. Thanks for presenting today. I'm going to move to our next presenter. I have Eric Shin and Carrie Curley on the line from Naudi Denjoni Community, or NDC. NDC is a nonprofit located on and serving the San Carlos Apache community through a community garden, the arts, and education, focusing on youth and families. And during COVID, They partnered with United Food Bank to expand their programming and address some of the food needs. So I'll let them share from here. Did either of you need to share screen at all? Or PowerPoint? Or?
Yeah, we have a PowerPoint we'd like to present.
Okay, I'll make you the host.
Yeah. Sorry, rearranging the screens a little bit. All right, can everyone see our screen here? Pretty much a PowerPoint slide deck. All right, this. All right, well, thanks for having us. My name's Eric Shen. I'm the operations and project manager at NDC. I guess we'll go down the line and introduce ourselves.
She carries Sage Curly Gonza, she cuts it in Shamasli Selena Curly Gonza, Perat Yugonshli. I'm the vice president of Nahuri Benjoni, which also means strength and beauty in Apache. And we have
Marcella James. I'm one of the board members here with recently on NDC, and I'm glad to be here. And I'm new to all of this, but it's very exciting what is happening here on our own community. And thank you.
So, so this is part of our team. You know, we're a small kind of tight-knit family here. We do a lot of the groundwork, and we're a very much a boots on the ground organization. So as the title says, creativity and connectedness, that's the title of our presentation, and that's a big value of ours. And what that means is really, how do we create new collaborations and new partnerships and connections with, you know, people within our organization, within families, within the community, and of course to, you know, other sources, organizations and agencies for long-term sustainability.
Eric,
I was just gonna say,
Yes.
you change your display settings because we can see the speaker display rather than the full.
Oh,
Or the you're sharing, I think.
sorry about that. Sorry, let me try this again. Share and screen two. Is that better?
Great.
Are you seeing our mission slide?
yes.
All right, I apologize. Sorry about that. So this is our mission. Basically, we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization in San Carlos, Arizona, on the Apache Reservation. And we do many different creative projects to bring transformation to the community. We heavily focus on agriculture, animal care, education, and really just connecting with people. There we go. So we have three main areas that we focus on to fulfill our mission. One is just a holistic approach. We want to transform people holistically. That's mind, body, soul, and spirit. Transformation, creating new ways of rehabilitation and personal development. That's full life, inspiration, and purpose. And of course, sustainability for the San Carlos community for the future. This is just a quick snapshot into kind of what we do and our path. We do a little bit of like everything here, as you'll see, and we'll talk a little more during the presentation. But you know, this is something we realized further down the line. Our organization is probably about 5 or 6 years old now. And really it was just started from just a group of friends wanting to do something to impact the community, to help. Eventually, you know, NDC was birthed from that. And, you know, a few more years into it, we realized like, oh my gosh, we're actually addressing food security and food sovereignty in San Carlos. So when we came across this visual, it really kind of shaped our path. And this is kind of where we're headed currently. Oops. So we want to start with our COVID relief program, and this started in the beginning of the pandemic. We pretty much stopped, you know, all our operations and addressed an immediate need that was, you know, very important at the time, and that was getting food to the people that needed it. And these are some of our staff, volunteers, our kids, you know, all chipping in and putting these food boxes together. And this day, you know, we delivered these and other boxes, just loading our trucks and taking them into the community. So as I mentioned, this started at the beginning of the pandemic. If you look at the picture in the middle there, that's Tara on the left. She's Bryce's wife, and Bryce is our president of NDC. And she really wanted to do something to help the community. And she wanted to accept donations and start giving it out. And we thought it was a great idea. So we all jumped on board. That's my wife next to her on the right. And that's the first donations we received on that rack. It was a very small set of donations. Eventually, if you look on the picture on the right, those donations started to grow. And then on the left, we have, you know, many more racks, a lot of food, and a lot of boxes. And eventually our entire building was filled with food boxes. So it was just incredible how people wanted to help and give back. And we were there to help them help. This is from, you know, several different food kind of pickup days. We got donations from local churches. United Food Bank was a big help in providing food for us. Partnering with Local First, and also at the time, like grocery stores had produce that was going bad and they needed to get rid of them. So, you know, several times we accepted like truckloads of fresh produce that they had nothing to do. So like 2 tons at a time, we would get volunteers and our families together. And the picture on the top right, that is at Bryce's backyard, where we just set up shop and started you know, assembling boxes. And the very next day we were set up in the middle of downtown San Carlos, had a drive-through pickup, and cars were coming in for several hours. And we, I don't know, must have distributed maybe 500 or more boxes that day. And that was like a 2-day turnaround. It was pretty crazy. We also partnered with a local school, the Schoolhouse Cooperative, which created like educational kids bags during the pandemic. And because kids weren't in school and they didn't really have access to the internet in some places, they wanted to help. And so we partnered with them, and we were able to get kids, you know, kind of some fun toys and educational material. Of course, the food boxes we distributed. And also on the bottom right, that is our Apache giant squash, which we grow in our garden. And that is native to this area. And so people were very excited when they received those, that in particular, something that a lot of people haven't seen in a while. And we'll talk more about that in a little bit. Actually, we'll talk about it pretty much right now. So this is our garden. When we were developing it, I really love this quote. I believe it really sums up what we do, what we want to do. So I'll just read it. I know of no restorative of heart, body, and soul more effective against hopelessness than the restoration of the earth. So as we work in the garden and plant seeds, you know, we hope to plant seeds in people, teach them skills, give hope, and you'll see more of that in these coming slides. I'm going to hand it over to Carrie here, and she'll talk more about our garden and how that's developed over the years.
All All right, so on these slides right here, these pictures, we have elder who lives in the community. He's an older man named Jerry Thomas. Him and his wife just volunteered their tractor and their time when he got off of work to come to our organization. Our acres here, that's a 1 acre garden that we have on site. And we have mustard seed that you see when he's barely getting ready to plow in there. That was mustard seed from our waist up high. And then below that is when we all got done plowing and, you know, tilling the land, the garden, preparing it. And then this was 2 years ago, right here with the weed covers. So it's a lot of work in the garden. It's funny, you know, looking at these pictures and just seeing how far, and just the process of learning of how to care for the land. Like that quote says, you know, you can look at it, and that, I think Eric shared it on the Slack with the team, and he's like, man, I would have just walked away from this. But, you know, Jerry and I tackled it, and now I'm happy to say that the garden is, you know, it's producing, we're having so much more structure. We're learning from it and what works and what doesn't work for us as gardeners. Right here, we have Juan Arias right here with the fire tool in his hand, and he works with U of A Extensions. Man, so many beautiful collaborations with him, and that he's doing also in the St. Carlos community, along with the Head Start, the Wellness Center, and those schools here. He's just all in all a great guy, you know, puts a heart into all the work that he does. Again, an educationer to the youth out here in our garden, our 1 acre plot. They have 4-H here on site, and they have archery, and then they do gardening. So we do have 4-H thanks to Juan and U of A Extensions. And I learned, this is my 5th year planting, and I've learned so much under Juan. And yeah, so that's him with the sugar cane right there. And then to the right of that is our black bean zucchini. And you can see the buds budding right now. I just harvested some zucchini this morning from our garden. Right below that, like Eric shared, that's myself right there with the wheelbarrow, the rich Apache right there with all the giants. The Apache giant, it has its own flavor, its own taste. Right next to it is the black bean zucchini, but the giant is literally what the elders go crazy for. I mean, these ladies will throw blows for these giants. They get really excited. Again, just like any veggie, they like it no bigger than a softball. They prefer it bigger. The bigger size that they want it is for, you know, some elders came here on site and wanted a specific size because they wanted it for Apache giant pies. And I never seen the process of that. I definitely haven't even tried that, but would like to see that one day. And then to the far bottom left picture is Danny Stevens, and she's her dad's a guide here in St. Carlos community, and she came down from PA, Pennsylvania. She was a school out there, a university out there, and she reached out to Eric on our Instagram and messaged and said, hey, you guys looking for work? So she was actually our first summer intern, and I'm happy to say that she's actually right now in the garden. She came back. She's cutting the grass right now in the garden. And we have Corey, who was Papuan and from Indonesia, and he was, what university was that? Oregon?
Oregon.
Yeah. And you know, guys know during the pandemic, he was having a hard time with his own funds from Indonesia and struggling. And he worked alongside with Bryce at the time in Indonesia and made that connection. And being that we had a facility that we ended up keeping him here at a hotel, and he worked for us in the summer too. So it was, you guys all know if you guys garden, it's great. The more hands, the merrier. It makes the work go a lot quicker. So, you know, we learn from them culturally, the Papuan, and knowing what the similarities of St. Carlos and Papuan have, and knowing that Corey wants to do what we're doing for his people in Indonesia, you know, having a chicken farm and so on. So it was really great work. And then right here to the left, we have Tina Anderson, who's from my district, and that's her daughter right there, and her 2 granddaughters. They saw, they believe, our little pumpkin patch that we had here on Facebook, and they came.
It froze up. Can they hear us if they froze up?
I don't think so. Let me text her.
You just came to the property. Samantha, we're good?
Yeah, we're back.
We can hear you now.
Okay. Sorry about that, you guys.
Yeah, our connection is pretty bad. We're pretty remote out here.
So I was just saying that's, we love when the community members come out here and come and see the garden, because that's ultimately what it is, the community garden. Right here you have myself and Machen, who was a board member at the time. Danny and Eric's 2 daughters came out and we sold our produce, the zucchini, the blue corn that we grew last year. And this is a setup that Eric and Sunny had put up right here on site. Behind that, you guys can see the 1-acre garden and the sugar cane growing and our pumpkins and the giant. And we just set up and opened up our property to the community. It's good, like you guys said, to go out in our own transportation, our cars, and we've done that over the years, and given out produce or sold produce where people are. But we also love it when people come to visit our site, and we're always open to that. So, yeah. Okay. Right here is the patchy giant. You guys see how big it gets? And in order for it to get that big, we save it in the garden and keep it on the vine as long as we can, because the reason behind that is we want our seeds to get mature, and we have seed saving here on site on property. And this is our very first massive production of seed saving. And we're happy to say that a lot of these seeds we planted back into the garden, and we have sold a few bags to the community. And right here on the top left, we have Danny Stevens. Eric and I and the board put it on her to take initiative of a project while she was here on site. And her main mission was the compost pile. We did have a compost pile in the past, but with so much going on, no one really, kept it going, maintaining it, really giving it the attention that it needed. So she went ahead and came up and proposed a mission to us, and all the supplies, we're happy to say we gave her support. A lot of those pellets actually came from United Food Bank. And so that's what's all behind her. And this is on the east side of our garden. And now it is what today, like Juan's watering, we have bigger piles of the compost. And right there is Sunny and myself. We are working with, was it Turk at the time that had produce, that doesn't go, it went bad. So there we are putting into our compost and breaking it down. So we're happy to say that our soil is doing great.
So that's our garden, and I want to kind of switch gears to our egg production program. This program, it was important to us. It was one of our first really team undertakings together. We built there together. That was a great kind of team building activity for us. But 3 main reasons for this, why it's important: to provide healthy food for the community. So we use non-GMO feed, and we sell it directly to the consumer, and we also sell to businesses in the local area. So the San Carlos Cafe, which is pretty much the only cafe in town or restaurant, and they purchase our eggs weekly. And so everyone that gets breakfast burritos in the morning going to work, they're getting the healthy eggs from our hens. Also for organizational sustainability, it's for ourselves internally, just to refine our business practices as we continue to grow and develop the market, and eventually want to do farmers markets and different events on site. We want to get our processes down, so this is a good way for us to do that. And of course, just a simple revenue stream. We're not just spending money on feed and not getting anything back from the chickens. We're not going to be rolling in the big bucks selling eggs, but at least it'll pay for its feed, and it's working towards sustainability. And then of course, education is a big part of what we do. So we built this coop to be a tool for kids to come in, and schools and other youth programs have come in to learn about the animals. 4-H, Juan brings those kids through. And so they learn about the animals, how to care for them. They collect the eggs, they clean them. And then we want to get them involved in the business practices as well. And we do have plans to start a children's egg production program where the kids actually take it over, and we just guide them through that.
Eric, can you wrap it up? We only have a few minutes left.
Sure. Sorry about that. So these are some of our chickens. Let me see through. We're putting raised beds into the community. We put 3 in this year. These are some of the families. Wellness center, we put 1 in with the wellness center. We have a commercial kitchen that we would like to use, or that we are using. Twyla Casador is a bit of a local celebrity, harvesting, gathering, and preparing local foods. She uses our site and our kitchen. And of course, people. We're all about the people, giving them a platform to grow and develop themselves and ourselves in the process. So, yeah, just summary. Mind, body, soul, spirit is what we're about: transformation and building healthy relationships throughout the community. So, thank you. Here's some of our contact information. There's our website. If you look at our partners page, there are a lot of partners that we've collaborated with and have really helped us get to where we are. So thank you everyone for being here, and thanks for having us.
Thank you, Eric and Carrie. I know it's a lot to cover in a short amount of time, but thanks for sharing all of that. I think we have time maybe for 1 or 2 questions. Questions or comments, feel free to put them in the chat as well.
I have a question. Thank you so much. How can people support the work that you're doing if they want to, or is there a way for people who maybe live in Phoenix that could help or come visit?
Yeah, if you go to our website, we have a donations page. You can always donate through our website. And we also have our volunteer form. So we have, a lot of big days of planting or harvesting, and, we just need help from the community. Sam's been out here several times. We brought a whole team to volunteer, so they've been great. So yeah, go to our website and fill out those forms, and we'll reach out to you.
And we are planning a fall harvest celebration of some sort to have at NDC, probably, what do we say, September, October. So we'll share information about that later on as we get that sorted out. Awesome. Okay, well, now we just have a few minutes left for Ashley St. Thomas to share a brief update about funding and the Arizona Food Bank Network.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Ashley St. Thomas. I'm the Public Policy Manager with the Arizona Food Bank Network. Thank you. Both of those presentations were incredible and beautiful photos. And now I have the pleasure of talking to you about the budget, the state budget, which there are no photos to share. And I just also want to say, really sorry to hear about the fires and hope that everyone is staying safe where you are. So there's not much of an update. We still don't have a state budget. And I should say, for those of you that aren't familiar, the Arizona Food Bank Network, we're a membership organization. We have 5 large member food banks. St. Mary's is obviously one of them. United Food Bank was mentioned there in Mesa, Community Food Bank down in Southern Arizona. Desert Mission is also here in Phoenix, and then we have a large food bank out in Yuma, and we help support them to get, get food to all the people who need it all throughout the state. So including USDA commodities and donated produce from growers all over the place. And then we also, in addition to emergency food assistance, this is a conversation about tribal food sovereignty. And so we look at the root causes of hunger, and we try to look at that from a policy lens and also a programmatic lens. So how we can have fewer people in our food bank lines. So one of the ways that we've been doing that is at the state legislature. And this year we asked for additional funding from the state. We've had a great partnership with the state for many years, and they've provided support. But obviously COVID notwithstanding, we've seen demand increase considerably over the past 15 years, and the funding has stayed the same. So we asked for an additional $1 million in annual ongoing funding from the state, which would support the transportation, distribution, and storage of food by our food banks. We're hopeful that that will be in the state budget when and if that ever passes. They do have to put one in place before July 1st. We're continuing to ask that be an ongoing additional funding line item. So that's hopeful, but we do know that we're thinking it'll be in this current budget. And the reason that's relevant in particular for this group is because, as Sierra mentioned, and our other food banks did additional emergency food distributions in tribal communities and other remote parts of the state. And so we're hoping, in addition to providing that food, I think it really strengthened relationships that didn't exist before. And we're hoping to be able to continue that with additional funding. Someone also mentioned Lauren Tomlinson. She works at St. Mary's Food Bank and has helped pilot a home delivery program, which was in huge demand, obviously, during COVID when people were quarantining at home. And that's something we're also hoping to be able to continue with additional state resources. We know a lot of people with disabilities and older adults have trouble getting to our food banks and picking up food. And so if we can find a way to get food to them where they are, that would be, ideal. So happy to answer any questions, but I guess the short version is there's no budget. So I can't tell you much.
I think another thing I wanted to share that you were part of, Ashley, and the Arizona Food Bank Network, was also being responsive to support some of the citizens who were receiving products that needed maybe a recipe. And so there was that, which I thought was an excellent tool, almost like the food resource mapping tool, but this was for the citizen to be able to have recipes for the food product or the items they were receiving. So I just wanted to give a plug on that.
Yeah, thanks. I'll also just give a quick plug. I know we have 2 minutes, but I won't put anyone on the spot, but we have a tribal community programs coordinator, and he's doing a fantastic job working with different communities to establish food security councils and help them to sort of, navigate and survey the situation on the ground as it is and how they can address it sort of sustainably. And we've also met with, there he is, Tristan. We've also met with a few directors of the FDPIR program in different reservations throughout the state. So that's the food distribution program on Indian reservations, and tried to sort of get an understanding of how well or not well that program is working in terms of emergency food assistance, so that we can lift up to the best of our ability the issues in Congress as they start to negotiate the next farm bill where all of these programs are housed. So I can also put my contact info in the chat if anyone has other questions.
Thank you. I just want to commend Ashley and the Arizona Food Bank Network. Tristan's come on board, Kenneth and Pinnacle Prevention and the Arizona Food System Network, Sam and Local First Arizona, partners that have been really stretching to reach out to tribal communities to address food insecurity. Not just as an immediate need, but I see some movement towards what are longer term solutions. So I think that's a great process to see. I mean, some of this we all have to collaborate and work towards, but I see that work taking place. So I just wanted to thank you for putting forth that effort and, really looking to understand and connect with community in that way.
Thanks, Raphael, and thanks again to Ashley for joining us. We couldn't talk about food bank partnerships without having the Food Bank Network on board, and we're hoping that in a future one of these sessions, perhaps in the late summer or the early fall, we can continue the conversation to talk more about some of those additional tribal partnerships around the state. And also thanks again to the NDC team and family for joining us, and for Sean and Sierra talking about the projects up in Northern Arizona. We look forward to seeing you all again on June 24th. So 2 Thursdays from now, we'll be having another discussion, same time, same place, and we will be sending out meeting reminders through the AZFSN mailing list, which I shared the link to earlier. Other than that, I'm just going to put some information in the chat with regard to some upcoming sessions for the Arizona Food System Network statewide food action plan. Both are general sessions. There's just 2 left, and you can join them no matter where you are in the state. And then also we're planning some tribal specific dedicated sessions to lift up Indigenous voices and wisdom coming up at the end of the month, and then also in July. And then lastly, we have a seed funding opportunity to collect more data about how COVID-19 impacted the food system from different food coalitions or collaboratives of food organizations around the state. And so if you want more information about that seed funding mini grant opportunity, if you haven't heard about it already, you can email Jesse on my team. So all that information just got blasted into the chat, and you can copy and paste it or save that. And thanks everyone for hanging on for a couple extra minutes. It was great presentations and great having such great participation from all of you as well.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Stay safe.
See you in 2 weeks.